In the early 1930s, a problem crept into American homes in a very practical way. Coal heat left a fine soot that travelled through rooms and settled onto wallpaper, dulling colours and turning patterns grey. Families could see the change, and they could not ignore it. Repainting or replacing paper cost money most people did not have. A simple need formed fast: clean the walls without starting over. In Cincinnati, that need landed close to a family that already thought in terms of household upkeep. Their soap business trained them to treat grime as something you managed, not something you lived with. But wallpaper did not behave like dishes or laundry. Scrubbing could tear it, and too much water could stain it. Every failed attempt made the same point. The solution had to be gentle, dry, and easy enough for anyone to use. So the family looked for a different kind of cleaner, one that grabbed soot instead of smearing it. They wanted something that could press against the paper, pull the dirt away, and then be used again. It had to work quickly because people cleaned walls in bursts, not as a hobby. This was not about novelty. It was about avoiding a bigger expense. In that tight economy, small savings mattered. Kutol Products Company needed something simple that worked on a stubborn problem. Coal dust clung to wallpaper, and scrubbing often smeared it or damaged the surface. So the company developed a soft compound that behaved like putty. It pressed gently into the paper, grabbed the soot, then pulled it away. No water, no harsh chemicals. The same piece could be kneaded clean and used again. That reusability became the point. The compound did one job, and it did it reliably. It lifted grime without turning cleaning into repair. That mattered in homes that could not afford to replace wallpaper every time winter heating left a mark. Kutol packaged and sold it as a practical household aid, not a novelty. People bought it because it saved time and avoided mess. Use it, fold it, use it again. The habit formed quickly and demand held steady. Over time, the product settled into routine life. It stayed soft enough to press into patterned wallpaper, yet firm enough to pull soot back out. It did not need special tools or instructions, only hands and a little patience. That ease widened its reach beyond one neighborhood or one season. Kutol, once searching for a solution, now had a dependable seller. The company grew around a quiet promise: clean walls, without starting over. After World War II, the problem that had kept Kutol's cleaner in demand started to fade. American homes changed fast. New construction rose, and older houses modernized. The old coal furnace, which had filled rooms with grit and left wallpaper streaked dark, got replaced. Gas lines spread. Electric heat became a real option, and as that soot disappeared, a whole routine disappeared with it. For years, coal dust had created a simple, steady need: clean the walls without ruining the paper. Kutol's putty had fit that job perfectly. But cleaner heat meant cleaner air, and cleaner air meant fewer stained walls to rescue. Families did not stop cleaning. They just stopped needing that specific tool. A product designed for a coal-burning world suddenly faced a market that moved on without it. The change looked gradual at first. Then it turned sharp. Each new furnace installation, each switch to gas or electricity, quietly removed another reason to buy wallpaper cleaning putty. Stores ordered less. Households used what they had left, then never replaced it. The compound still worked exactly as it always had. That was not the problem. The problem was harsher. The mess it solved no longer showed up. Sales slid fast. As coal heating disappeared, the wallpaper cleaning putty lost the problem it was built to solve. Kutol still had the same pliable compound, the same equipment, and the same bills. But stores ordered less. cash tightened and the company's future started to look like a countdown. This was no longer about growing. It was about surviving long enough to find a second purpose. Kutol searched for any place where a soft, reusable material could matter. They looked for tasks that needed gentle pressure, not harsh chemicals. Something that could pick up, shape, seal or protect without damaging what it touched. The challenge was brutal. The compound was useful, but it was known for one job, and that job was fading. Without a new market, the product became dead weight. So the company tested possibilities and chased leads, trying to match the same formula to a different need. They had to think beyond wallpaper and beyond the cleaning aisle. Each option came with risk, because changing markets meant changing packaging, sales channels, and the story customers heard. Time mattered. Every month of shrinking orders made the search more urgent, and every failed idea narrowed the path forward. Kutol kept searching for a use that did not require coal-stained wallpaper. Then something simple happened. The compound ended up in front of children, not as a product to buy, but as something to touch. Small hands pressed it, rolled it, and pulled it apart. It did not crack, it did not fight back, it held shape, and it invited another shape right away. That reaction mattered because it revealed a different value. As a cleaner, the compound solved a problem that was disappearing. As a play material, it created a new one. What could be made next? The same qualities that once lifted soot now supported imagination. It felt soft, it stayed workable, and it could be used again and again. One overlooked feature became the entire point. For a company running out of options, that shift changed the stakes. The question stopped being how to save an old product and became how to present it to a completely different audience. If children naturally treated the compound like clay, then Kutol had a path forward that did not depend on the past. A cleaner had reached its end. A toy had appeared inside it. Kutol faced a simple problem with a complicated answer. The compound still worked, but its old identity worked against it. It had been sold as a cleaner, tied to chores and grimy walls, and that label clung to it. So the company began stripping that away. Packaging shifted, the language changed, the product stopped being described as something that removed dirt and started being framed as something you could shape. That shift demanded more than a new name on a box. A kid's product had to feel gentle, dependable, and predictable in small hands. Kutol adjusted the formula so it performed better for play, not cleaning. They worked to make it softer and easier to mold, and they pushed away anything that sounded like chemicals or harsh utility. Safety messaging got simpler and calmer. Parents had to hear reassurance, not a warning label. Step by step, Kutol repositioned the same material for a completely different moment in family life. The goal stopped being a cleaner wall and became a busy child. They prepared for a launch aimed directly at kids, not homeowners. The company's choices narrowed toward one clear promise. This was a thing you could touch, squeeze, and remake without consequence. The cleaner story faded. A play story took its place. The turning point came when Kutol stopped treating the compound like a cleaner and started treating it like a product children could claim as their own. The name changed. And that mattered. Play-Doh sounded playful, not practical. It gave the same soft material a new purpose in people's minds. This was no longer something a parent bought to fix a problem. It became something a child asked for. But a new name alone did not create trust. Families needed to see what it did. So early promotion leaned on demonstrations, simple and direct. The message stayed focused on hands-on fun. Pinch it, roll it, press it, start again. Adults watched children stay busy without needing complicated instructions. The material behaved in a predictable way, and that reliability sold the idea. It felt less like a gimmick and more like a new kind of play. Classroom-style use pushed that credibility even further. When teachers treated it as a tool for shaping letters and forms, it gained an educational angle without losing the fun. It turned play into something that looked useful and that made parents more comfortable. Step by step, the product's identity flipped. It stopped being connected to chores and cleaning. It became linked to creativity, learning, and the simple satisfaction of making something with your hands. At first, Play-Doh stayed simple. It came in one familiar shade, and the fun depended on whatever a child already had nearby. That limited how far the idea could go. If every creation started from the same beige lump, the results blended together, and the excitement faded faster. The company needed a way to make the product feel new each time without changing what made it work. So Play-Doh changed in the most obvious way. It gained colour. Brighter options turned basic squeezing and rolling into something closer to making real things: foods, animals, signs, anything a child could name. Colour also made the product easier to share. Each can felt like a choice, not just more of the same. That shift widened the audience because parents and teachers saw more variety and more reasons to buy. Then the company pushed it further with tools made for the compound. Cutters, rollers, and simple presses gave kids a clear next step when imagination stalled. Instead of only shaping by hand, they produced patterns, edges, and repeatable forms in seconds. The tools also made Play-Doh feel like a system, not a single item. One became a kit, and that meant the product stayed interesting longer. Once the product stopped feeling like a local experiment, the next challenge sounded simple and proved hard: get it everywhere. Distribution widened beyond a few friendly retailers and classroom contacts. More stores carried it. More regions saw it. And as that footprint grew, marketing had to keep up, because a toy that sat quietly on a shelf stayed invisible. The push went national, and the name started showing up again and again. National marketing changed the way families understood it. It no longer depended on a demonstration to make sense. The brand itself explained the idea. Parents saw a safe, hands-on activity. Teachers saw a reliable classroom material. That mattered because schools did not buy fads. They bought tools they could use every year. Once Play-Doh fit into lessons and routines, demand stopped being seasonal and started being steady. With wider distribution came a feedback loop. More households owned it, which made it familiar, which made it easier to sell to the next household. The brand moved from novelty to default choice, the thing people reached for when they needed a simple creative activity. It spread through birthdays, school lists, and family shopping habits. By then, it belonged in homes and classrooms nationwide, far beyond its original narrow niche. By the time Play-Doh reached this point, it no longer sat in the cleaning corner of American life. It lived where kids lived. It became a default choice for classrooms, playrooms, and rainy afternoons because it solved a different problem now: how to keep hands busy and minds engaged. The same softness that once trapped soot now invited squeezing, rolling, and shaping. The purpose flipped, and the public followed. As the brand travelled farther, it carried a simple promise that translated easily: open the lid and make something. Parents and teachers treated it as more than a toy because it naturally supported skills they cared about. Small hands practiced control and coordination. Kids learned colours, shapes, and simple building ideas without being told they were learning. That became the new reputation. It was not work anymore. It was development disguised as play. The contrast stayed almost unbelievable. In the 1930s, the compound existed as a quiet fix for a very specific, very dirty household problem: Decades later, it stood as a symbol of creativity, sold around the world to families who never dealt with coal soot or wallpaper cleaning putty. What changed was not the basic material. What changed was the story wrapped around it and the way people used it. That shift turned a near-dead product into an icon.